Hey and welcome. My name is Yogi Aaron and I'm the owner of Psoas. And today we're going to be talking about applied yoga anatomy. We're going to be next week, on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, going to be doing a presentation on giving you a quick hack on how to get rid of back pain. So what I wanted to do today was kind of give you an introduction to applied yoga anatomy and why you want to attend this webinar. So what we're going to be talking about, I have my friend Skelly here with me, because Skelly reminds us that we're nothing but a sack of bones, held together with all of this tissue. And the sack of bones by itself can't do much. So what moves the bones, what moves the body is your muscular system. And it's kind of interesting or kind of worthwhile to know that if the muscular system isn't functioning well, you're not functioning well. And so many of us are walking around in life with pain. I think it's really important to kind of bring this back to why is this important if we're practicing yoga? Well, what is yoga teaching us? Yoga is teaching us, to live a happier life. First and foremost, it's teaching us how to be happier in life. And how can we be happy if we're in constant pain all the time? If we're in pain and we're walking around in life like this, and our muscular system isn't working well, then how the hell can we be happy? It's also teaching us how to be stable. And there's a stability of mind that's really important, but that stability of mind really does come from the stability of Mr. Body. So if our body isn't functioning well, then our mind isn't functioning well. So we need to get that working better. But unfortunately, there's a lot of misconceptions out there in the yoga world that's causing us a lot of pain. And one of them is that we need to have more conversations around this idea of flexibility. For those of you who are my students, always hear me say that we need to get rid of this word flexibility. Flexibility is like this crazy word that gets overused, and there's nothing in the Yoga Sutras, there's nothing in the yoga tradition that mentions the word flexibility. You don't have to be flexible. There's no reason to be flexible. Flexibility is actually causing you more harm. And how this relates to pain is because, as we said earlier, muscles move bones. If muscles aren't working properly, bones aren't moving well. We're not able to, walk around in life very well. So what we need to do is get the muscular system working. Between the muscles, to get the muscles working, we need to get the communication system working better between the brain and the muscles. If that messaging system isn't working, then muscles aren't working. And we see it all the time in practicing muscle activation. When we test muscles, they're constantly testing weak. There's a student of mine, her name is Ginger, and Ginger came to Psoas, and she's been living with us for a little while. And Ginger was really strong, she's really got her body working well, and she made the mistake of coming to Psoas, taking some classes, and overstretching certain muscles. And when she started stretching those certain muscles, her glutes started working. And guess what? Her back started killing her, literally killing her. She couldn't even move for 2 days until I fixed her, of course. So we need to get those muscles working. And when we start to overstretch certain muscles, it creates this stress. And this is the key word here, is stress. So many people think like, oh, I'm going to go do this, pose, and I'm going to see how far I can stretch this muscle. But what you're actually doing is causing a stress to that muscular system. And when we cause stress to anything, it stops working. I often think about this trip I took from Psoas to San Jose, which is the capital of Costa Rica. And I didn't know it at the time, but there is a connection between my coolant system and the cooler, the engine, sorry. And that cable was weak. So you think about our nervous system, there's certain nerves in our body that's weak, the connections are a little frayed. Sometimes my teacher calls them the battery cables. They're a little frayed, you know, and then there's like very little sparks between them. And so if you think about like one of the main muscles, which is the Psoas Major, you know, and which is responsible for hip flexion, you know, the ability to lift my leg up. You want to try that too, Scully? Lifting the leg up. That's this muscle, the psoas. Of course, there's some other muscles responsible for this as well, including the rectus femoris, the iliacus. When those muscles are not connecting to the brain, guess what? I start doing things like this. I start compensating. Well, my car A was compensating. The heater, because the coolant system wasn't working properly, the heater started working harder and it started getting hotter, and guess what happened? Yep, the car broke down halfway between Psoas and San Jose. And this is what happens a lot in our body. This connection between brain and muscles is becoming frayed and it just isn't working very well. What we want to do in applied yoga anatomy and muscle activation is to start getting the communication system working better between the brain and the muscles. When that communication system is working better, your muscular system will work brilliantly. So many of you think like, oh, I need to work on my muscles, I need to get stronger. You're already strong. You're already strong by virtue of the fact that you're alive and walking around in life. You can carry groceries from a car. You can carry your children around. You can play with your nephews. You can do all of those things. That shows that you're already strong. But sometimes you do something inadvertently, you twist, i.e. the wrong way, or you do something, or you go into, a yoga pose and you don't go into it correctly, or you go into it a different way, and your body starts to get stressed. It has a force being placed upon it that it's not accustomed to. In applied yoga anatomy and muscle activation, what we're looking to do is to increase the strength of your body. We're looking to increase the force tolerance of the body so that no matter what happens to you, that you're able to go through life without any aches or pains. You're able to go through life without your body breaking down all the time. We're looking to raise your own tolerance level. And this is one of the key words here. We're so used to compensating in our life. You're so used to doing things like you have a low back problem, for example. And so maybe in the mornings when you're brushing your teeth, you know that song, when you wake up in the morning and you get out of bed. So when you brush your teeth, some of you, I've noticed this with myself sometimes, that my back is like either tender or, I have hurt my back in the past, and so sometimes I'm holding onto the sink with one hand and brushing my teeth with the other. This is compensation. A lot of things that we're doing in our life, we're compensating all the time to avoid pain. And we can actually use that in a lot of other ideas as well, especially when we get into the psychology of yoga. Woo! Don't even get me started there. So we want to start to look at what areas we're compensating, why we're compensating. I think one of the kind of worst things that yoga teachers say, well, there's two things. One is like, listen to your body and be gentle with it. Well, that's important. You do need to listen to it, but you also need to be aware of where am I compensating, because those compensations teach you about your weaknesses, and that's not being addressed. We're not addressing people's weaknesses. One of my favorite poses is when you're lying flat on the floor and you lift your chest and your legs off the floor. Most underplayed yoga posture, and yet most effective for strengthening all of the back muscles so that we're able to stand up straight. Those muscles need to contract properly so that I'm able to extend up through my spine. And instead of doing that, we tend to kind of slouch, and in our yoga practice, we skip those challenging poses that help us to start building those muscles that move us away from compensation. So that's one thing that they say. But the other thing is like going to your edge. if I can't stretch more than this, then if I start to go further forward, you can see how my body is starting to compensate. My hip comes out, my upper back starts to round, because there's a tightness going on. Muscle tightness is a sign of muscle weakness. I'll say that again. Muscle tightness is a sign of muscle weakness. And what we tend to do is focus more on the tightness. We need to lengthen those muscles. But in applied yoga anatomy, we actually look at the opposite. What actually isn't contracting properly? So when I bring my leg up, I'm not going to do it again, but when I bring my leg up here, we need to start thinking about, okay, what muscles are contracting? Well, there's definitely muscles in the stomach, there's definitely muscles in the front body, and there's also the quads, and you can see that I can actually lift my leg up pretty high and just kind of hold it there without any compensation. That's sort of my range of motion. That's my range of motion. My range of motion is right here. That's as far as I can go. That's as far as the muscle can contract. Does it mean I'm weak? No. It just shows that that's as far as the muscle can contract. If you ask most people to do this, they'll probably come to here. And that's fine. But what we want to do is start to look at how do we get these muscles to contract in a better way. And that's what I'm going to be talking about more on Thursday, is this idea of muscle activation, how to engage it, but most importantly, what is one of the key muscles that you want to look at to engage in order to start to get rid of back pain. Because your back pain is correlated exactly to the muscles that are not supporting the back in a correct way. So, you can have strong, maybe certain muscles, okay? You can feel good, but then as soon as you place a force in the body, I'm going to pick up my keys off the floor. Maybe certain muscles here, when I'm bending forward, are not contracting. Maybe some other muscles are compensating that should not be doing the work, and therefore those muscles get even more stressed out and the body starts to break down. So we're going to be looking at skelly. We're going to be looking at just different muscles that are doing the work, that shouldn't be doing the work. We're going to be looking at muscles that should be doing the work. And I'm going to give you such a frickin' easy hack in order to start improving the messaging system between the brain and the muscles. It's going to blow your mind. You're going to be like, oh my God, it didn't know it was this simple. But if you want to know even a simple hack right now, stop overstretching your muscles. Stop overstretching your body. Your muscles are tight as a protective mechanism. Your body is holding those muscles in and making them tight because it's afraid of letting go. Why is it afraid of letting go? Because you keep overstressing those muscles. It's kind of like, one of my teachers says, it's kind of like when you walk on ice. When you walk on ice, all of a sudden, your body tightens up as a protective mechanism because there's an unstable surface. Whenever there's instability in the body will tighten up. Whenever there's a stress in the body tightens up. And the worst thing that we can do in yoga is start to force those muscles that are tightening as a protective mechanism to start forcing them to release. What we need to do is start addressing weaknesses in the body so that the body goes, oh, I can let go now. And once we start to address those weaknesses, the body starts to not only let go, but the body will also be more stable when you are walking on ice, when you're doing those activities in your life that are demanding you to be stronger, when life is start throwing you those different, obstacles that you need to be stronger for. So start to do less stretching and start to think about where can I start to engage more? Where can I start to strengthen more. But most importantly, where am I compensating? Okay, so where are those compensations? Again, join us on Thursday. I'm going to do a bigger demonstration and talk around this idea of muscle activation. I'm going to do a bigger talk around applied yoga anatomy. And we're actually going to be looking again at specific muscles. What muscles do I need to engage in order to get rid of lower back pain? You know, there's a few, and I'm going to give you, again, a really easy, simple hack. So the link is in the bio, and will be in the compensation, in the comment section. You can join me. It is by registration only, so make sure that you get that link, okay? I thank you very much if you've been watching this all the way through. Of course, you can always watch it on the replay, and I hope you guys have a great Easter Sunday. Namaste.